the big matchups between Alabama and Miami. Everything's about matchups. What's the best matchup on the field? What's the most intriguing matchup? Who has the edge in these different situations, if you will? And, Coach Saban is 10-0 all time in marquee season openers, 6-0 against ACC teams. It's trying to go out to win number 7 against Miami. But we go now to the first major matchup here, and that's going to be Alabama's defensive front against Miami's offensive line. This is going to be a big situation here because when you look at Miami returns all 5 of its starters from a season ago. The Hurricanes, this is a group that, 190 career starts. That's a college football record. This is a veteran group, an experienced group. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't make a lot of errors. They do their assignment, and they follow their assignment. This is an offensive line that helped D'Eriq King total 27 touchdowns a season ago, 23 passing, 4 rushing, as well as helping running back Cameron Harris rush for 10 scores. So this is also a Miami team, offensive line, that helped the team average 34 points per game a season ago. But as we look at Alabama's defensive line here, this is going to be huge for the defensive front because of the fact that for Bama, it's going to be, how do we frustrate this offensive line? How does Alabama get this offensive line playing off, get this offensive line frustrated, get this group not playing at its crisp peak power, and on top of that, being able to get to D'Eriq King, put him on the ground, rough him up a bit, frustrate him, create some negative plays, some turnovers, because the young man is coming off an ACL injury that he suffered in the bowl game. And you never know how healthy you are until you get hit. So you look at a Bama team that you've got Will Anderson and Christopher Allen that combined for 13 sacks a season ago. You have a Bama defense that multiple guys are on preseason award watching list. This is also a Bama defense that forced 22 turnovers a season ago across the front. But as we get into now, the challenge rating. So the challenge rating here is what we're doing here. For each matchup, I'm going to give a challenge rating between the numbers from 1 to 5. 1 being, it's not going to be that tough of a challenge for Alabama. 5 being it's a huge challenge for Alabama. So that's the challenge rating here for these matchups between the Crimson Tide and the Hurricanes. So I'm going to give this challenge rating a 5 here between Alabama's defensive front and Miami's offensive line. This is a veteran group, an experienced group. Not saying Alabama can't crack the code, get some heat to D'Eriq King and cause some friction, but this is a Miami group that is a very veteran group. So challenge rating there of 5. But as we flip this over now to the matchup between Alabama's offensive line and Miami's defensive front, this is an Alabama offensive line of whom, yes, we know it lost 3 guys to the NFL, with Alex Leatherwood, Landon Dickerson, and Deontay Brown. But it does return 3 guys, including 2 starters in Evan Neal at left tackle, Emil Ekiyor Jr. at right guard. There's a competition at center between Chris Owens and Darian Dalcourt. This is an Alabama offensive line a season ago that helped this team average 48.5 points per game. This is also a Bama offensive line that produced 3 Heisman finalists, Mac Jones, Devontae Smith, Najee Harris, and a Heisman winner in one Devontae Smith. But if you look at Miami's defensive front, 17.5 sacks returned from last year's group that had 30 of them. And then you've got all of Miami's defensive players that had tackles for loss. Those guys are back on the roster as well. And on top of that, you have Manny Diaz, of whom, if you know Manny Diaz from his days at Texas as an assistant coach, he's known for blitzing. He is going to want to get pressure to Bryce Young. He's going to want to affect the quarterback, collapse the pocket, and get Bryce Young uncomfortable, get Young uneasy, get Young on his heels early in offense. So that means this is going to be major here for Evan Neal, major for Kendall Randolph at right tackle, major for everybody on the offensive line, protecting Bryce Young at the point of attack, giving him time to make plays here in the passing game, and then also opening up the holes in the run game. The best way to stop an aggressive defense, you run the football right at them. And you got four guys here when you talk Brian Robinson, Jace McClellan, Trey Sanders, and also Roydell Williams. So being able to affect the aggressive defense of Miami, got to be able to run the football. But the challenge rating for this one, I'm going to go with the 4 here as the challenge rating. It's still going to be a challenge. I think Alabama's offensive line will be able to hold its own and do very well, very strong there, but still a challenge going up against a Miami group and Manny Diaz that loves to blitz, whether it's up the middle, whether it's stunts, whether it's off the edge, whether it's using a corner or a safety off the hot corner. Miami's going to bring pressure. But so I give this a 4, but I think Alabama's offensive line should be able to hold up there. As we move here to the third big matchup here, we've got Alabama's defensive secondary against Miami's wide receivers. Alabama's secondary, everybody's back except for Patrick Surtain, who's in the NFL now with the Denver Broncos. Everybody else is back. This is the Alabama secondary that had three interceptions a season ago, had three interceptions returned for touchdowns a season ago, and a fumble return for a score as well. This is also an Alabama secondary that boasts at least 2 potential first-round picks. When you look at Josh Jobe, one of the boundary corners, and strong safety Jordan Battle. So this is a veteran group. This is a veteran secondary under Jay Valias, cornerbacks coach, Charles Kelly, safeties coach, of course, Nick Saban, the main guy coaching for DBs. But they're going against a receiver room in Miami. They've got talent now. Mike Harley and Brevin Jordan, they combined for 14 of De'Aaron King's 23 touchdown. Well, they caught 14 of De'Aaron King's 23 touchdown passes a season ago. And then Miami also has Charleston Rambo, a speedster whom they brought in from Oklahoma via the transfer portal. He's going to get a lot of looks here. And then here's the caveat. Dzalen Worsham, an Alabama native, went to Hewitt-Trussville High School. Alabama courted him hard on the recruiting trail. He chose Miami. So now this is going to be a matchup here. You got Dzalen Worsham, you got Malachi Moore, Hewitt-Trussville guys going head up, going against each other. This should be a fun matchup between the Bama DBs and the wide receivers receiving options there for Miami. The challenge rating here, I'm going to give this a 3. I think it's going to be moderately challenging. The thing about it is, Miami, outside of Mike Harley, the other guys kind of have to prove themselves at Miami. Charleston Rambo's got experience at Oklahoma, but's got to prove himself at Miami. Dzalen Worsham, young guy, got to prove himself. They got some other young players that have to prove themselves on the big stage. This is a veteran Alabama secondary in Josh Jobe and Malachi Moore and DeMarco Helms and Jordan Battle. You got Brian Branch, who played this past season. You got Jalen Armour Davis, of whom probably not a lot of on-field experience, but he knows a lot of the knowledge and the scheme of the system. And then, of course, you got Daniel Wright as a backup as well. So going to give this challenge rating a 3. But Alabama, Miami, got some big matchups for this game. Going to be fun watching this all unfold. And that's going to lead us into our first break here on the show.